So then we are back with more understandings from the Renewed Covenant, from the Aramaic English translation of the Word. This translation is from the original documents of the Hebrews of old, from the time of the prophets of Israel, giving us then understandings of the time of the end, giving us understanding of the seasons and the times, and also, most importantly, the time of the Messiah when he spent his 490 days completing the spring feast. As then the world is then going through a transitional time, we begin the understanding of always relying our predictions and understandings from the holy prophets of Israel in no other places, because there is not another worthy source of prophetic records. So then, understanding this year, the 21st of December, some say there are situations going on in the stars and with the planets lining up and the such. That's not true. Absolutely nothing is going to take place. What they are expecting is then parts of the biblical prophecy, or then the scriptural prophecy regarding then the ending of the 1,000 years of the Gentiles. Because in 1009, when the Muslims destroyed then the holy city and the tomb, then there was a shift in the spiritual understanding of the world at the time. And this particular time was perceived then around the world. Because the cities of God, the replica from the time of Yohanan, they began then at the time of Yohanan giving directives to the entire nations. It was worldwide. And nations around the world, they could sense in the spirit a precise understanding of guidance from heaven. After the destruction of the holy city and the tomb, then there was a shift of the understandings of the directives in the spirit. Thus the angel came and bound Satan for 1,000 years, his facet of the destroyer. Then deceit had taken place. At the moment that deceit had taken place, then religions began a record of it. So this Mayan calendar and the such was a simple fact, and they are in fact outside of the holy calendar for 36 months. So that's what they are recording of. Simply the ending of the time of the Gentile ruling in terms of what is divine, what they thought was divine, and then the time of their secular leadership. Those would be then split apart, only remaining then the Gentile secular rulership and no longer linked with their own divine understanding. So then understanding from the viewpoint of the Messiah and what he was explaining, then it fits. Then you begin to understand. When there are then cities of God, then it changes the entire structure of the spiritual world. So absolutely nothing is going to take place. Absolutely nothing. The earth is going to spin as Yahweh had then gave the order, and then the planets in perfect orbit, and then stars, and then the sun, and then the lunar view, determined every month, the sun every day, and then the barley aviv every year. And most importantly at the time is nations then focusing in the Chinese system. That's going to be important. We're going to change then the entire perception, what they thought was then divine, and they're going to do trade, and they're going to rebuild. That's what they should be doing. Not be mixing themselves with their own divine junkies, because the cities are returning, and they are the true directives of this entire planet, as it was then during the time of Yohanan. That's why it's important understanding the scriptures from a Hebraic or Aramaic understanding, and then having our time and prophecy in place. So then we can direct other people. So ended up like lunatics, expecting this year to the end of the world. It's not even the time. We are during the time of rebuilding. And the Mayan calendar is out of whack for at least 36 months. I'm going to end the world. Try to understand their perception. They were mixing their abilities of trade of this world in what they thought was divine. Precisely what the scandalized scripture teaches. Mixing of their level of trade with what they thought was divine. And came to an end regarding then the divine mixed with the trade. It remains the trade, the divine goes away. And what was then they thought was divine, but in fact was junky. But they felt in the spirit during the time that the tomb was destroyed and Urushilim was destroyed, and then there was a bounding of Satan the Destroyer in 1009. Then he went to prison, and his facets of deceit then had taken over. That's why you found then roughly 1200 years of a record of this time, but truly it's not. It's only 1000. Because it must match the 1000 years spoken of in Revelation. But because these spiritists, they have a sensitive understanding in the spirit, they understand there are motions and functions, and they perceive. But those were divine motions, but yet they detected. So that's what it is. The mystery is solved. People should return and resume what they should be resuming. Please stay tuned. Much more coming up.